Hi, I am putting this video together to show you how I am using my rudder alignment jig before I rivet, so we can get a nice straight, no twist rudder, nice straight trailing edge. My previous rudder I scrapped because I had some issues with it, and that's over here in the right here. And what happened here is I oblonged some holes. It might not be that easy to see here, but these holes are all out of round significantly because of something stupid I did. So that was the main reason I scrapped it. But after the fact, I found out that there was significant twist. When I put it down on the table, it lies absolutely flat on one side, and on the other side, when you flip it over, it has more than a 1/4 inch of twist in it, maybe even 3/8. It's out by quite a bit. I thought I built it correctly per the plans. Clearly I did not. So I'm all the wiser this time, so we're going to do it a second time. So basically I fabricated a few pieces here, and I'll show you these two main pieces. So we've got this as a hinge support. This is put in per the plans and setting the proper distance away from the spar. Same thing up here. Again, set to the proper distance from the spar. There are a couple of cutouts here to clear this flange. And of course that moves up and down a little bit between the two pieces. You can see the difference here. Attached to a simple 2x4 base so we can get some stability on it. And the second part of this is the two simple pieces here. As you can see, just a piece of, I think that's MDF with a couple 2x4s for the base. And the specific geometry on this was created on SolidWorks. I gave it a shot to see if Vans would send me their SolidWorks files for just the rudder, or even just give me some XYZ points for this. Basically the idea here is these corner pieces here, the ends, they need to be held in a plane with the hinge line. So if you take all this into account, that gives you a solid plane, and that's where the way you want that rudder is standing to be planar through the center line hinge and the two corners, and that will give you a nice twist-free rudder. You might see here I have a bar for the trailing edge. That's a pretty common solution that everybody's using. It's a piece of 1 inch by 1 inch by 1/8 inch aluminum bar that you can pick up at Home Depot and drill right through it. You got to drill, of course, a little bit of an angle here to match this, so when they lie flat, the clecos will sit through properly. That holds the trailing edge nice and straight. So you can see in this stage of my build, I have the spar installed and clecoed in place. And Vans tells me at this stage is where you start to set that twist. So I wanted to get this set up properly before I did any riveting in this. One word I want to say, I created the geometry here by actually going into SolidWorks and creating a rudimentary rudder. Basically, I measured all of the points. I just got out some protractors and just a standard tape measure, and I started taking a bunch of measurements on this for height here, width along there, length along the trailing edge, and and all I cared about was basically from the spar on out to there and out to there, and getting the angle set up right. And then I took that into SolidWorks and created a basic outline of the surface of the rudder. And from that, I was able to come up with, see here, you can see how that's kind of angled. If we go under a little bit, you can see how that surface is angled. So I actually measured and created these boards with that proper angle so that you can see it fits fairly nicely. I'm very happy with the way this turned out. So this is a slightly different angle than this. Might be a little hard to see, but it fit perfectly. I was really happy. That tells me I did a good job of measuring and creating these things. Now, the way this is used is you just set this up. I have some laser levels here, and let's turn it on. I've already kind of set this up for the most part. It might need a slight bit of adjustment. There we go, we'll put that on. And you can see how we're going through the center of the bolt there. And that goes all the way back to the trailing edge. Pretty solid. And if we look down here, it's more or less aligned. It's maybe a little bit off, maybe a 1/16. We'll probably have to do a little bit of adjusting here. The line should be going through the center of these holes as well, just to make sure that everything is lined up properly. You can see here I have another laser level. We'll turn this on. And that's fairly well set up. You can see it's going through the trailing edge there. And if we go down a little bit on this end, you'll see, it's kind of hard to see because it's missing it by just a slight amount, but it's more or less aligned, pretty well aligned there. So that's how I'm setting up my plane, to tell me exactly if I'm in plane or out of plane. So the next step will be to start riveting through the front spar and checking as I go to make sure that this thing isn't introducing a twist into it. If it does, I'm not sure what I'm going to do to correct it at this point, but at least I'll have fair warning. And then the next step is to rivet the trailing edge together and button the rest of it up, and then this should be completed by this weekend. Hopefully this helps everybody. I did create, out of the SolidWorks, I did create some drawings so we can have the dimensions of this little angle piece here, just so I wouldn't have to, I don't like doing things on the fly so much. So I created this and went off the drawings when I started fabricating it. Pretty simple to do in SolidWorks if you know SolidWorks. I do have PDFs of these two pieces, and I can also supply, if anybody is interested, I can give you the dimensions you need to make that board to and the angle you need to cut this board. This is not parallel here. There's an angle between here and here. A little bit of an angle. It's about 3.8 or 4.4 degrees, I think is the number. Anyway, so this is probably overkill, but I just do not want to repeat that. It's worth it to me to go this extra step. If you would like those PDFs of the drawings and you think this might help you, feel free to leave something in the comments and an email address, or I'm not sure how else you contact through there, but leave it for me, and I'll be happy to email it to you. All right, hope this helps.